up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Success After Trauma, where we bring on guests and they share their stories of the challenges that they've been through, the traumas that they've faced, what the mindset was like when they were going through that, and how they're creating success after trauma today. We've had Mike Cimorelli on before for part one, and we're just getting to catch back up with him. This guy's a busy man. He has a lot going on. I think he's going to share a little bit about a little bit with us today about a second business venture that he has going on. In the past, we talk about the A3 Ascension Academy, and today I'll share a little bit more. And I'm really, really excited to get him back on. Mike, would you bring us up to speed for the listeners that are just hopping on today? Would you bring us up to speed with a little recap of where we left off and what we went over in our last episode before we kind of take into how you're just exploding in today and creating that success after trauma?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge you, Greg Pihs, great guy, great friend of mine, great mentor, great brother. Hopefully I've been able to share a fraction with you that has, meant as much as what you've shared with me. Always love talking to this guy. I love jumping on your podcast and sharing. So my name's Mike Cimorelli. I'm born in Sacramento, California, and I spent a lot of time in the hills. I grew up in the Northern California. Well, that's Sacramento, but about an hour or 45 minutes north of Sacramento, about an hour and a half south of Lake Tahoe to get your bearings set. That's El Dorado Hills. That's just, around the corner from where gold was discovered. I grew up, my dad was a carpenter, then a general contractor, still a general contractor, exploring job sites as a young kid. And I came from the generation like you with no technology. I had like a skateboard and a bicycle and a shovel and a wheelbarrow. Those are like my favorite toys, and some Legos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It definitely I had some Legos, but back then they were about an 18th of the cost that they are today. Anyway, we had a lot of fun doing hands-on stuff. We, meaning myself and my friends and some of my siblings. I think in the podcast prior, I shared my fingers are a lot different than probably yours and anyone else who's probably watching this. It's an Italian gene from probably my great-great-great-grandfather and his sister that he married or something like that. No, I'm just kidding. It's called
funny.
brachydactyly. I look at it as a positive. I think that people might look at it as a negative, but that's for them to decide. Anyway, so growing up with, one good grip finger, being like an avid anything two wheels bike jumper / racer and builder and climber, you know what I mean? Like I really work on that one finger. No, but yeah, so I took you guys last time through that kind of journey and ascent and descent. It's like a sawtooth, right? But still on an uphill. Through my younger years. I spent a lot of time outside developing a lot of skills as far as I was really good at skateboarding, but rollerblading and mountain bikes and BMX bikes. I was always building stuff, damming up the creek, doing, tree houses. And I built a racetrack in my backyard that was like a solid, like 300 feet long with like maybe, 300 feet or so with like jumps and double sets and gaps that you had to go over. And man, I crashed so many times. It was wild. I've always, got back up and kept going. I still do that stuff today. And it's funny because people are like, oh, I'm old. I can feel it in my bones. I can't really feel it. I feel great.
I love it.
I feel great.
I love it.
I think I've actually broken like 29 or 30 bones if you count ribs and toes. And so like literally everything, wrists 4 or 5 times and all sorts of stuff. But, it's all about you just keep going. And, I look at people like Travis Pastrana. I'm not trying to do all that stuff, but like, dude, I have literally no room to talk in that arena. So anyway, going on the positives, kind of like through the childhood years, did a lot of that and experienced, a lot of struggles in my teens. Just kind of trying to figure out who I was. I can't really play sports, but I liked sports growing up, but it's like, dude, it's really embarrassing. Like being able to be the first one there. Like I wanted to be like a wide receiver or something because I wasn't as big as the other guys. And dude, I can't even catch. So that kind of sucked. And I wanted to learn guitar like really, really, really bad. I mean, I always wanted guitar. And like, as soon as I got one, I had the reality check that like, dude, I can't read the chord chart because it says to put your pointer here. And like, my pointer's half the size it's supposed to be, and like can't play a bar chord. Anyway, it's like a lot of things like that, which is really kind of interesting, because I had like this, like I kept falling, I kept getting, breaking stuff and getting back up and doing that with the extreme sports. But yet, like with the music, it literally took me 2 years to learn like a Green Day song. And any of you guitar players know that, like, dude, a Green Day song is like the easiest thing you could possibly learn.
Let me,
Um,
Mike, can I ask you a question? When
absolutely.
you were learning how to play guitar, and I think we covered a little bit of this on the first episode. For those of you that haven't got to check it out, go back and check that one out. When you were learning how to play guitar, I can't even. I've attempted it once or twice, and I haven't followed through with the commitment yet. Okay, it's hard for me. It's hard for me. Well, tell me, can you walk us through a little bit of that mindset? Like, what kept you going? What was the
Oh
drive to,
yeah.
like, I'm not giving up on this. I'm gonna figure it out.
Oh, 100%. So the drive was, I mean, it's like Napoleon Hill talks about, like I had a burning desire to learn how to play the guitar. And so that was there. Now, without that, you're probably not going to go to the length that I had to go. I mean, literally, and I'm not trying to say like, oh, I had to go through
Fair
some,
enough. No,
but I
no, no.
kind of did. I kind of
Right.
did.
You,
Like,
you
dude,
literally did. Yeah.
I know the feeling. So it's like I had to actually what I had to do was reframe. So immediately I realized I couldn't play what I wanted to play, or what I thought I wanted to play. And that's how I discovered metal. So I was like taking guitar lessons, or trying to, and it just like anything he would kind of try to show me, it's like, dude, I had to break a chord in half. So I had to play like either the higher notes or the lower notes. And so he was kind of, his name was Cameron Carberry. He's really cool, dude. He was like, hey, man, why don't you try this? And I was like, what is this? He goes, it's called Cowboys from Hell. And I was like, what? And okay, my mom's going to kill me. Sounds good.
You're like,
And so
sounds good. Let's do it.
he showed me this like Pantera album. And instead of playing like a lot of big chords, they're playing fast notes. And I was like, ooh, I can substitute speed with the full chord. Sign me up. So like literally, it was harder to learn like the Green Day song than it was to learn Cowboys from Hell, which is like probably an advanced level, intermediate advanced level song. But to me, I was like, my unconscious mind was like grasping on this whole, oh, there's something I can do. The burning desire is being fulfilled. You know what I mean? The goal is here. And now I can see the post. And now I'm like pulling back the slingshot so I can shoot it. And so hopefully that imagery made sense. But instead of, and actually I have a guitar right here, and no, I'm not attempting to play this because it's probably way out of tune, but there's a bar chord that looks like this. And like, if you could see this pointer finger, and I'll move this microphone real quick. If you could see this, the bar chord looks like this. You're supposed to put your pointer finger over this the whole neck. And like, dude, my pointer finger wants to go down. So instead of doing that, I can actually do like fast notes instead. And that's how you make up, that's how you make up the majority of like heavy metal songs.
Bro, I
And I was
love
like,
that.
hell yes. So I got that. And then I learned Master of Puppets and the song called Orion, which actually fits my hand. It's a minor third with an extension on it. And like, I remember just sticking my hand there. And for once, it was crazy. When people talk about like they feel heard, my hand felt heard, which
Wow.
was mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
So anyway, I became the wandering minstrel. And it's funny because now I can play all those chords that I thought that I couldn't play. It just took me a lot longer to do it. And what really got me to doing it was learning the belief. I learned a belief that I could actually play those things. So, and I'm
Mike,
talking
real
like,
quick, when did you feel, roughly what age were you when you had the experience, when you're like, I kinesthetically, physically feel heard? What age was this roughly?
well, with it, the guitar is what opened that up. But that was probably like after trying to play for like 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What
I
age
mean,
was this?
literally like plucking notes and this and that, and like try, and I'd give it up and I'd come back, I'd do hand stretches and this and that, try it again, put it down, give it back. But yeah, it's probably about 15, and a lot of years of embarrassment too. Like other kids are just picking one up and now all of a sudden they can play all this stuff.
So roughly, you would say roughly about 15 is when you had this like powerful like, holy shit, like I'm connected to this. Is that what you would suggest?
It was. And it's interesting because at the time, how like there's all these different areas that you need to build in order to have a good life. Like health is one of them, but like we might look at wealth instead so that we slack
Spirituality,
on our
well,
health. Okay.
yeah.
So I'll use this to segue into the next thing because, I know the podcasts, success after trauma is not a guitar lesson place. So we have our time and our place for that, but just illustrating the point that was a major element in who I am today. Is learning to play the guitar. And so I still play the guitar all the time. I love to play the guitar. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Well, let me dive like because the way you're making it sound is like, yeah, like I still, just so you guys know, I still have the guitar. I don't want to release information until you're ready to release it, but you kind of got a whole business geared around music right now.
Yes, I do. So my partner and I have a production company and we are launching a publishing company. We have written an album together. We are writing like hard rock, country, fun rock, just kind of like actually taking the labels off, but just using the labels so you kind of know like what stuff sounds like. But you can follow us. Our company is actually called Leatherneck Productions, and that's a salute to him. He served in the United States Marine Corps, much like you. So thank you for your service. And we want to continue to promote, supporting those that are serving so that we can do what we're doing right now here in our comfy living rooms on this podcast.
Mike, real quick, I just want to, you may have said, just in case, when you said him, for anyone listening, I may have just missed, but if not, him is Mike Cimorelli's business partner.
Yes,
Business
his
partner
name's
at the Marine.
Connor Myers. And he's a great guy. He's a great musician. He is a great writer, and he is an amazing friend and
And
soon
real
to be
quick, I want
father.
I want you to dive back in and tell us more. What is the, if people wanted to connect or get more information on Leatherneck Productions, where can we send them? We'll put it in the.
100%. And I would love, we just launched our Instagram. We're getting pushing 100 followers, but we just launched and we are launching our first song next week. And it's called Searching for That Song. And it's literally about the musician who's looking for that song that's going to take him where he needs to go
I
and
love
the
it.
thought process. And that's the shoes we're in right now. We're going to do a lot of stuff as raw as we can to show you guys, here's where we're at right now and let you follow instead of being like, this parade of smoke screens. We're just going to be like, hey guys, like we're literally recording the stuff at home studios. And we're actually having a meeting on Monday with a #1 hit songwriter to do, he might be our third wheel actually as our producer in-house. He believes the same things. We'll see how that pans out. And I'm not going to release his name yet because we haven't inked anything. But it's wild to me how fast this is coming together. But it's also not
So,
wild because
what
I
is?
believed it.
I'm sorry, and I want you to keep going. Forgive me. I'm cutting you off
Yeah.
all over the place. I want to get some information out there. What is the name of the Instagram if people
The,
want to follow you?
amazing. It's Leatherneck_Productions.
Perfect, and we'll include that. We'll include that for
Thank you.
everyone watching later on the video. And
Yeah.
then where can people access the song as well?
So our songs will be out on iTunes, Spotify. We'll have YouTube stuff coming out. And we're even going to make some really cool TikTok content.
Awesome.
So yeah, in fact, we're going to make a lot of TikTok content, and I finally said, screw it. I'm going to jump on TikTok and I'm going to jump on these reels and I'm going to make fun content for you guys. For so long, it's like, I see like the content that I like to consume diminishing. So why don't I just make content that I like to consume? And that's kind
Boom.
of that's how we do it. So yeah,
Be a creator. Be a creator. We will consume. We will consume inevitably. But the goal is, or my personal goal is, and I believe that you're gonna relate to this as well. I want to create more than I consume when I leave this earth. I want to create more than I consume. I will consume. I want to create more than I consume.
100%. I'm right there with you. And so I want to segue. So last time we talked, I talked a lot about the early years of my life, going up through my teens. And then I stopped at when I moved to Malibu, which I want to touch on that because that's actually where I really learned what an open mind can look like. I moved to Malibu when I was like 21. And the people that I met, my first job was at the Malibu gym. And this is how I got this is how I get all jobs, which haven't had a job in a very long time. I've been self-employed.
Yeah.
But I just, when I used to get jobs, this is how I would do it. I actually made a YouTube video about how to get a job with no
I,
resume.
I remember that was a really good video, by the way. I remember that. Keep going.
Thank you very much. What I do is I find out what environment I want to be in and what value I can add. And then I'd literally just walk up to the manager and explain to him why he needs to hire me. And there's no resume, there's no, application process. It's literally, hi, I'm the guy for this job that I can see that you need fulfilled at this place. Hire me. And it works.
It works because you've already put in enough attention, energy, and care about their business to say, here's the problem, here's how I solve it.
100%.
You didn't just walk in and say, hey, you got a job for me?
Right. And it's
you've
interesting.
You've already invested your time and energy in their business. Go ahead.
Right. So our company, Leatherneck Productions, by the way, when we had 0 followers, just got our first brand deal with a really cool company called KC Turbos, and the cat's out of the bag. So they're sending me a bunch of sick stuff to put on my 7.3 Power Stroke. I have a 97. It's an old body style, and I've built a whole bunch of it with my hands. And that's another story for another day.
It's a badass truck.
It's a bad motherfucker, man. Anyway, the point is, though, I emailed them with I want you to give me this and this, and here's what I'm going to do for it. Here's who I am in my experience. And then I sent them a follow-up email with, here's a teaser. And I called them, and the gentleman called me back, and he was like, dude, so many people send me emails. Hey man, how can I get sponsored? Hey man, can I get some free shit? And it's like, and he said that his freaking mind is just spinning with all these people just asking for stuff. And he's like, then I read your email and you color coded who you are and what you're going to give me and then what you want. Like, do you know how easy that makes my job? And I thought, if people just knew that, and you could spend 5 minutes just announcing who you are, what you want to give, and why you think it's worth it to them, and then how they have a benefit from it. It's like an Alex Hormozy book I read, called $100 Million Offers. It's like how to make an offer so good you'd feel like an idiot not accepting it. So that's kind of how, anyway, and that's how I've tailored that. But going back to the Malibu gym, I worked there for a few years. I started at the front desk, and I realized I needed to make more money. And but what I was really making was friends, like amazing friends that were sharing wild, mind-blowing stuff. Like, we're talking entrepreneurs would come in at 4 or 5 in the morning that have hundreds of millions of dollars. And they like this one gentleman invented the earplug when he was basically in the Vietnam War. And you know what, Howard, if you're there listening, I love you. I appreciate everything you've ever taught me.
It wasn't 3M, was it?
It was not the 3M. His is way Howard's earplugs. Howard's earplugs are way better.
Let's clear his name. Good.
No, Howard's earplugs are way better. His name's Howard Light. You probably, if you have the gun earplugs where you turn them on, you can hear the voices.
Yeah.
Light. Yeah, that's
it.
GHT.
Oh. But yeah,
Howard
no, I know
Light.
what you're talking about. Absolutely.
But he was my buddy. He would come to the gym with like a freaking wife beater tank top with like a stain on it and like an American flag bandana with his long hair and a big like shit-eating grin. And dude, like, this guy was, I didn't know like that he was, some sort of like inventor with like a $50 million property up the street or anything like that. And that's not why I became friends with him. I became friends with him because he was so kind. And when like you'd share an idea, he would expand on the idea with you.
Wow.
Like this gentleman, hey, how'd you come up with that? Well, that's really smart. Why don't you make that? Oh, because it costs a lot. Yeah, well, yeah, but you can always find ways. There's lots of people out there with money. And I'm like, wow, he's probably hinting at something, but I didn't know that then. He was just like always encouraging ideas. Oh, you should play music. Oh, you should. Do you love doing that? You should do that. And like, not just him, a lot of people like that had congregated there. And I hadn't met these people in the other environments where I had lived and frequented.
Tell me a little bit. I now that you're able to realize the value, how did this alter, and I don't even know how you can put this in words for us. How can you put into words how it altered the trajectory of your life, of where you might have been and where you are because of this experience?
Man, so let me just preface that at the time I was so like the amount of awareness I had is like this much compared to what I have now. So I had a giant buffet of blessings around me, which we all have right now, no matter where you are,
Boom. Thank you.
but you have to be aware of it.
You got to open your
And you
eyes.
might even be watching this saying like, dude, you know, you were spoiled or this or that. Let me just tell you this. At the time, my dad was like multi-millions of dollars in the hole. He was getting mad at my siblings for like eating too many eggs.
Dude, you
Okay.
told me about that on the, yeah,
It,
you
it
shared
was
that with me
like,
privately.
yeah, dude, like I had like $342 on a good day in my bank account. Like my car had 300,000 miles plus my Toyota truck. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? It was one of those. It had what we call a 3-point slow liter V6, but it was jacked up. So that was kind of cool. That just
Feel
made
like
it
I
even
did have
cooler.
this going on.
Yeah, it was jacked up, but the paint was falling off. It was, but anyway, dude, I was stoned all the time, really, because I wanted to forget about
Right.
all this
Escaping
traumatic
reality.
junk that was like piled on top of me. But even through that, it was like this pile of trauma and self-hatred and self-doubt and self-loathing and self-sabotage. I could still see enough to know that I wanted to be around these other people so that I could see like what they're doing. And like, dude, IFBB bodybuilders would come in and like the way that they would talk and the way like you have to be massively disciplined with a crazy goal to get to the, to the IFBB pro part. And like some of those guys would come in and like pump weights. And like I would watch what they like, they're so calculated and this and that. And like, anyway, and like famous actors and like Timberland used to come in there. Shout out if you're listening. And he would be super nice to me. And he would go over there on the treadmill and like he would like like he would start humming stuff on his iPhone. And I was just thinking, like, damn, that's how you were making hit music, is like on the treadmill. And
Think
it like
about
it
that. Yeah.
this kind of like, and like not even like good pitch or anything. Sorry, dude. But like this kind of stuff was just mind blowing. Like I got to see so much. So I didn't really know, like, if I could go back now in the open state that I'm at now with like the willingness to take risks that I have now, holy smokes. But anyway, like, I guess the point is the problem, or maybe not the problem. The thing that I had that held me back the most was this, like, you're not good enough. These people aren't going to accept you. You
Right.
did
Right.
all these bad things. You're dirty. Your skeletons are going to be, exposed from the closet or whatever.
Bro, I
You
appreciate
hurt these people.
yeah, I want you to keep going, but I just got to say thank you for saying this. Thank you for saying this. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being transparent, because I'm going to suggest that all the people listening, okay, maybe there's one that doesn't fall in this category. We all have those, like, we lived a life where we did things we're not proud of, and we got to be willing to face those and overcome those. And I appreciate you having that vulnerability, Mike. Please keep going. I apologize for
I mean,
interrupting.
dude, I've done things in the past that I'm so not proud of, not like out of malicious intent, but just out of sheer
Ignorance,
self-hatred
self-hatred, yeah.
and desperosity, dude. And like, man, I'm just like, what are you doing, Mike? Like I've had, dude, I used to do a lot of drugs. And the people that I knew that did the amount of drugs that I would do are fried. I mean, it's crazy. Like I was so lucky to have a second chance. And the reason I was doing drugs was not even to be cool, dude. Like a lot of it was like I would buy some of this or that, and like I'd go home and hide from people because I just wanted to feel a certain way. The same way I feel when I remember I was on a yacht with Howard and some dudes, and actually a bunch of dudes and a bunch of chicks. And I remember like sitting there, like it's a 3-story yacht and there's a helicopter on the top and there's like a hot tub full of girls. And like, I was just like, what the dude, I'm 22 or 24. Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't know what reality I just stepped into, but like, and then there's a high-end restaurant with like probably a mahogany bar downstairs with all this beautiful glassware and expensive booze, and you can smell the ocean, and dude, the other boats look like sardines compared to the one that I'm on, which, by the way, I still have like maybe $342 in my account. But like, for whatever reason, I was like, you know what I mean? I got to Ed Milet, someone that I follow, says like, you got to taste, you got to feel the dream. And like, I not necessarily wanting to own like that yacht, or that's not necessarily what I would buy or spend my money on. However, like, the experience and the smell and the sound and like the freedom, you know what I mean? If I could like maybe delete some of the debauchery that was going on and add like some other families that like I'm succeeding with, like you guys and the kids, or just Xander or whatever, like, come on, like,
Dude,
and
when you
just
talk about
smelling that.
when you talk about freedom, I can't wait. I can't wait until, I mean, there's other things that are like really cool, but I can't wait to own a helicopter. Like when you talk about
Yeah.
freedom,
Yeah.
like, hey, I'm gonna, you head out to California, like, yeah, I'm gonna fly over to Catalina real quick. I'm
Right.
not taking the charter boat.
Right. Well, Ed Milet said he flew his wife out to different states like Arizona and stuff when the lockdowns had hit for dinner.
Yeah, I
Like,
love
that's
it.
like, come on. He's like, dude, I couldn't even take my wife. I had to freaking jump on the jet. And like, that's an expensive dinner, but it was worth every penny to have that time with my wife.
That's
All
right.
right. I like
That's
that.
right. And
I don't know if you,
the freedom that you have, that you're not going to the higher we climb. In my freedom is when we have ultimate freedom when we're not bound by anyone else's commands, desires, wants, needs, any of that. When we're able to operate in the manner that we want to freely,
oh
and
yeah.
I can't wait to. I'm excited just to continue creating it.
Same here, man. That's the goal of my business ventures right now, is not to be like, there is a lot of cool stuff attached to my set of goals. And that is not the purpose of the set of goals. Just like money, for example, is looked at as like an ocean. It used to be looked at as a river, but now it's looking as an ocean in front of me. And like, hey, if I need some for this thing, I can grab a few cups out or whatever, and I've just got it right there. But it's not like, hey, I need to shower myself with $400 t-shirts that have like a red logo on them or something. Like, to me, that's wasteful. And guys, I get it, some of you love that kind of stuff. I'm just expressing views. And maybe that's trauma that's speaking, like, oh, that's not a good thing to spend money
Well,
on or
and I
whatever.
think it's all relative in the sense that if that $400 T-shirt, if it was made of a certain, if it had a certain feel for you, if it brought back a certain memory, if it supported a certain group of people, at some financial level, $400 a T-shirt, it really becomes, it doesn't, you can't measure, you can't, there becomes a level, like when we get into the 9, 10 figure range, you don't even balance the books for a $400 T-shirt no more, and you'd be
No,
happy to
I
support.
100% agree with that.
Yeah,
All I'm saying though, in I guess in a counter to that, is that I want to be sending a lot of help, not giving people money. I believe that the government's biggest error is throwing money at problems. And you can watch what happens to Twitter. Elon Musk just closed on it, and all of a sudden the censorship department is being fired. And I will be back on Twitter. I think this is amazing. I think that the freedom of speech equals the diversification of opinions and the colorful thoughts. And you know what? I don't like the one-sided thoughts. I like the freedom. You know what I mean? And also, I'm not afraid to get hit in the head multiple times. And if that's what it takes to be free, I want to be free. You know what I mean? I'll
and
also probably learn what it takes not to get hit in the head.
well, and the other thing is, like the option remains open that I might literally be wrong, and now someone else has the opportunity to show me the other side of the coin. The other side of
Sure.
the coin hasn't been silenced.
Yeah,
We all
and
believe our side is the right side, but the truth is sometimes we're not on the right side, and we just don't realize it.
you know what? And yeah, and you probably had those experiences, right? Like, where you realize like, whoa, that thing that I used to believe like wholeheartedly is
Bingo.
not true.
And allowing ourselves, just allowing ourselves to be open to. I'm not bailing on my beliefs; they're my beliefs. but I want to poke holes in them every opportunity to find out that they cannot be that they are impenetrable. We're either going to find out they are impenetrable, or oh, holy crap, let me go ahead and shift a little bit. Now I found out something new that I didn't know before.
Right. I want to talk a little bit about a couple things that I went through in like my Malibu years that I think young guys, I mean, our girls too, but especially just like young guys, like we look at relationships different. We look at sex differently. And obviously there's probably like an 80-20 rule or something where the roles are reversed or this or
Mm-hmm.
that. But I can't reach every single person. So I can say this, if you're like me in any way, or this relates to you, then great. And if it doesn't, maybe you have a cool perspective that you want to share, that we'd love to hear, that we could say, oh, aha, there's something else. It's just like not every car on the road is a Suburban, but there's a lot of them, but there's also a lot of others. So anyway, you can't put the same parts on them. So with that said, when I had moved to Malibu, I got in really good shape. And I got in really good shape because I wanted chicks to like me. And really, it wasn't even I wanted chicks. I wanted to feel valuable. But I used other things in front of I wanted to feel valuable. I had felt so lost and not valuable because I didn't know who I was, or because I didn't know where I was going, rather, that I had put so much emphasis on an outward image. And while I didn't have any money and I didn't believe that I could make the money at the time, I just was like, okay, I'll get in really good shape. And like back then I was like, well, $100 an hour is like a lot of money. So I'll become a personal trainer. And like, you know what? You might be listening to this thinking like, dude, what the heck? Like $100 an hour is a lot of money. And you know what? You add up $100 an hour for a while and you will have a lot of money. I guarantee you, especially if you do smart things with it. But the point is then I was looking at it as like a holy grail number almost. And, so I got into personal training. I was teaching classes at the gym. I was doing pretty well in those. And even though sometimes I would party too hard and just sleep through the class, and the clients would be calling like, Mike, and they were so kind. Like they would still like give me the benefit of the doubt, and they would show up next time. Sometimes they get a little pissed off or whatever, but I had so much grace from so many people that I probably just took for granted. But anyway, I wanted to be like loved and in a relationship so freaking bad. I finally got in this like a couple of these very toxic relationships, and like where there was just like so much like push and pull and push and pull and push and pull. And there was like the higher the high would come, the lower the low would just maul me. And I would keep coming back. It's like, if I hug the cactus hard enough, I can drink the water out of it. Like, what the frick, dude? And a lot of that comes from like this unhealed sense of not feeling like I was valuable enough. And so what I want to say is, well, and I also should say that I was doing things that would make me feel some bit of value, some bit of feeling whole or heard or anything like that, some sort of triumph. I was using things to create synthetic feelings of success or triumph or goal accomplishment. And really, I was taking myself farther away from the goalpost. Now that I look at it now, I see the hurt boy that just wanted to be loved, that just wanted to be accepted, that just wanted to feel like he was one of the guys that was driving the Ferraris with the beautiful girl in the passenger seat. You know what I mean? Like smoking a cigar with the sunglasses on, just not a care in the world, smelling that ocean air. I wanted to be that guy so bad, but I wasn't willing to do the work to get there. And I knew that I wasn't willing to do the work to get there, and I didn't want to admit it. So I put all these other things in the path, and I would get so caught up with doing the hourly things or like doing things to make like a little bit of money so I could go party and forget that I was not doing the work to get there.
Wow.
And my thing would be right now, like now that that's past, 8-10 years ago, I'm looking like, okay, if I could talk to myself then, or if
Mm,
you're in these shoes and
mm.
anything that I just said resonated, if I could talk to myself
Put it on
or
them.
talk to you, my words would be, go and find someone that has what you want. They're all over the place. and tell them the truth. And they'll probably say, whoa, thank you for telling me the truth. If they don't, that's not your person that you want to talk to. And you just did
Oh,
yourself a huge favor by being real with them, because now they know, or you know, to find another person to do it with. But anyway, go explain yourself to someone. There is somebody that will mentor you just enough to tell you the books you need to read. And I could spend, Greg's whole podcast telling you a list of books to read, a list of activities to do, things that I did that really boosted my confidence. Like, I could just share a few things right now. There is a skill set in 2022 that can make you incredibly valuable. And my belief is that you want to be you want to have an inner belief that you're valuable, but you also want to have outward skills that, people around you know, okay, this guy's very valuable. Like, I am very good at marketing, at sales, but then take that way deeper. What about marketing? Okay, I'm a killer photographer. I can do sick videography. I can put together really good reels. You know what I mean? I can do audio engineering extremely well, live and in studio. I could go to another country and run a board in another language if I needed to, and run a whole band and understand what all the different things do, even if they're not in English. You know what I mean? Like, and it's an on and on and on and on. Not to brag, sheerly to say the mind does not have a bandwidth problem like a lot of us, including me, have believed. We don't have this, like, oh, you got to stick with and my dad, I love you so much, Dad. I didn't know how much I loved you until I had my baby in my arms, and it really clicked and hit me like a son of a bitch. And I cried my eyes out, and I thought, wow, I wonder if my parents loved me as much as I love this baby. Like, man, it just, like,
wow.
it nailed me. But I will say that, like, he said, like, pick something that you want to do that you're really good at and get really good at it. And that is really good advice. And I also want to say, you can pick something that you really want to do and get really, really fucking good at it, and it's not what you end up wanting to do. And that's also good, because you don't have to
Yeah.
only have the space for one skill. Our mind is exponential, and the more you expand it, the more it expands. And it's like, the more you put in there, the more space it gets.
Well, and each thing, also, if I can just have it a look, each thing leads to the next. I've done a couple different careers
Heck yeah,
in
you
my
have.
lifetime, and in the future, I may venture into other things. I've definitely found something that I'll be with for a long time. But each one taught me a little something for the next one. Like, it was all part of the journey of where I had to be today. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys, if you're still with us, first of all, thank you. I appreciate you appreciating either Greg's show or what I have to say, or the combination of those.
Both. Yeah.
Um, I would like to give Greg a little quick shout out. Like, his program, first of all, I was one of the first people that was crazy enough to
Very
sign up
first.
and say, hey, Greg, you know what
Let's
I
give
mean?
it a
Like,
shot.
let's go, bro. And out of just belief and trust. But what Greg did for me, and by the way, he did not tell me to say this. I'm just throwing that out there. But what Greg
I'll give
did
you the
for
money
me,
later.
now, what he did for me was, he took a lot of things that I had developed over the years and alerted me that I had developed them, first of all. Second of all, showed me where I can use those things and how to use them, and also how not to use them, and how to be aware that other people are using those. And he called it color coding, or labeling the tools that I already had in the garage, so that I would know what to grab when I needed to do something. And I thought that was a very good metaphor. So thank you. And also, if you guys are interested in doing something like Greg has to offer, especially his higher ticket stuff, which is what I went for, I fully encourage you to go down that route. And if you need to save up for a year, it's worth it. And it will teach. It's funny, because it's like, it will teach you almost like, hey, I'm saving up to invest in myself. And that kind of stuff, like, I've bought so many programs. I'm so glad that I've bought them. And some of them I didn't like as much, but I got a nugget from them. And it's interesting too. Like, I've learned that, like, you can find so much, like, a magnitude of good stuff in a very bad event that's happened, if you learn some of these principles. One of them is like reframing, and that's a deep subject. Actually, it's a very deep subject, but a simple reframe is like, something bad happens. It's like, okay, well, at least I didn't die. Or like, oh, okay, at least I learned the limits of this thing, right? Like, or whatever it is, like you can look at it at the same thing in two different ways. And usually if you listen to two people's stories, they sound way different. And you could look at that as like your own reframe, because you have two sides. You have like the side of you that does what you are really proud of, and the side of you that wishes it did what you were really proud of. And you can usually find that out either when no one's looking or when you're under an extreme amount of pressure. And then we usually have those aha moments where it's like, I wish I would have acted differently. That's not a bad thing. The reframe that I'm giving you right here that you may appreciate is like, oh, now I know what I wish that I would have done. So now you can take that, stick it away in your unconscious, or you might call it subconscious toolbox, and you can pull that thing out next time quicker.
Mike, thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for being one of the first ones. So anyone that comes through the course when Mike says he believed and trusted me, thank you so much. And I know that it's been powerful for you what you were able to take away. When Mike says he trusted and believed me in the beginning, he was in the first group of people that through my NLP and timeline therapy certification course. If you want to know more about it, gpmindgrowth.com. This guy, we did it in a little office space, just some tables, some chairs. I mean, it was the first group. They help provide feedback to me. For those of you that go through in the future, the next one will actually be hosted at a retreat. We're going to be at Evans Mills, up in the Smoky Mountains. So what it's evolved from, when this guy says he trusted me on day one, I thank you so much, Mike. It was incredible. I had an idea. What do you think about if we did if I bring you on for another episode? What do you think? So Mike has read a lot of books, myself as well. And Mike, what do you think if we did another episode, maybe three, whatever number is appropriate, right? But I would love for you to pull out maybe your top three, top five books, and then in another episode, digest the book a little bit. And what was that aha moment? At what point in time in life did you read it? And what shift did this book give you?
Oh, you know what? I'll take you up on that. If you want to book that, I mean, soon, let's go ahead and send me the link. I would say we should also, we have to talk about outwitting the devil. I could probably think right
Oh,
now of probably 7 books that really made an impact. There's a lot of times, tell me this, Greg. There's a lot of times when you read a book, you know that the author was influenced by another author that you've read,
absolutely.
or you've listened to, whatever you want to talk, you know what I mean, however you want to
Hmm.
consume your content. But so that's usually to me a refreshment, because it's like a very good friend of mine who's a successful attorney that I drink whiskey with sometime, and we divulge in these or indulge in these very deep conversations. He said, when many people, or generally speaking, is how he phrases things, he doesn't quite like hold a statement or commit to a statement. He'll say, like, from what I understand, from what I observed, from what I've seen previously. But
Yeah,
anyway, he said, generally speaking, when a number of people arrive at the same conclusion, there's a higher probability of its validity or of it being valid. And I'm like,
well
okay,
said. I like the words he chose.
me too. And that's why it stuck with me. And the point I'm going to make and throw back at you is, when I read these books that you can tell the author has taken a lot of nuggets from something in the past, that and where the source is. To me, that is greater validation that I should go read the source again. And
Yeah,
I should also be thankful that I am able to put those together.
I
There's a
love when you
lot
talk.
of
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying there's a lot of information out there that comes across as like breadcrumbs. And you put those together and you have a loaf of bread.
I like that what you're talking about. I love, and it's some of you are there's plenty. Some people listening are gonna be so further along than I am. Some people are like, "What is he talking about? That's scary," and everywhere else in the journey. I really enjoy studying ancient philosophy. I mean, Lao Tzu, Sun Tzu. I mean, scripts that are hundreds and sometimes thousands of years old, and they literally are part of these books that we see today. That, in some level, they went through a chain of events or a sequence or a gestalt that these 100-year-old and 1,000-year-old books are part of that gestalt. There's actually truths before that, but we only know what we know, obviously.
Yeah, pretty
A lot of
much like you're not going to find much that's older than the Bible.
Bible,
And I just watched a Jordan Peterson
which, by the way, exceptional
thing.
book if you haven't read it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, it's interesting because it's like we can take the Bible and cut it up. Yeah, I'm going to go down this road for just cut me off in 3 minutes. But you can take the Bible and cut it up, and you can say, well, the Bible says these horrible things. It's like, actually, the Bible starts being written by different individuals, right? But it's a culmination. And so it starts somewhere and it finishes somewhere. And it has books that were written to believers of the books here. And a lot of people don't know that. It's got books that are written to believers, to non-believers, and to royalty, Pharisees, and to peasants, and you can't just take like a sentence out and you know what I mean, and just say like,
You
oh,
can't just beat someone with one quote from the Bible.
well, and we hear it from atheists that are mad at Christianity. You hear it from Christians that are just like, they read one verse and they're like, well, then in this chapter, this verse, it says this. Well, yes, that's just
it does say that as part of a whole metaphor or story.
Does say that anyway. So but there's so much brilliance that's woven throughout there. It's
my gosh, yeah.
It is so much, and there's so much that is muffled down by different religions and different belief sets, where it's like, actually speaking, like a lot of the stuff that like Napoleon Hill is talking about in Outwitting the Devil is literally right there in the Bible, spoken differently.
Correct.
And when he's even talking about like the power of visualization in the book of Matthew, it says, ask and you shall receive. Okay. So that's obviously a very deep statement, but there's a bunch of different scriptures that talk about.
I love it. How are you going to ask for something you've never visualized? If I'm going to ask you for a thing, I can't even process something in my mind to ask you for that I've never visualized. Try to do that. Ask me for something you never visualized.
Right. So you have to. But anyway, when we could go down that rabbit hole deep, but it's like,
dude, let's do this. Okay, let's put a pin in it. I'm gonna send you a link. We are gonna do another episode. You're gonna pick the books that we're talking about. You're gonna talk about them. I'm gonna provide a little bit of feedback along the way, because this is gonna help people understand. Like, there's a lot of people that come up to me and they're like, "Hey, what book should I read, or what books have you read in the past?"
Yeah.
Make sure you stay tuned for this next episode with Mike. He's gonna share with you the top rated. Mike, what would you say? Hundreds of books, thousands of books? What would you say? How many you've read? Just a guesstimation.
High number of hundreds.
High number hundreds. Okay. So of high number hundreds of books, it's
like probably
top 3 or 5. Like,
probably like 7 or 800.
So this is an opportunity for you to hop on and listen that someone that's been through the challenges in life, been through the struggles in life. And again, I know you didn't come from money, if because when you talk about Malibu, sometimes that could be misconstrued. But Mike, would you do me a favor and hold your hands up? Unless you went through that, you don't know what that is, right? And you've probably been through something similar. Make sure you catch our next episode, Mike. Before we get out of here, let me give you some closing words. I'm going to do an outro, and we're going to see you on the next episode. What's your closing words for everyone?
Man, if you want to do something, you can do it. Even if it doesn't seem like you can do it, or it's not feasible, that's when you start questioning, okay, is this actually something I want to do? But if you really have a burning desire to do something, I think you should do it. And if you keep surrounding yourself by people that have who have agreed with marginalizing themselves, then you're going to have to change that group, unless you want to marginalize yourself or you are wanting to stay marginalized. I'm not saying everyone listening is. Number 2 is do something nice for someone today. A very, very, very successful person that I was talking to yesterday said, hey man, you should get down on your knees every morning and just give thanks. And after that, you should work out. But this will change your life. This will change your life more than anything you've ever conceptualized or imagined. this will literally blow your mind if you did this and you came up with gratitude for 10 minutes. You'll probably stop after 60 seconds and not know what to give thanks for, because you haven't trained your subconscious mind to pull all the things that you're grateful for. But when you can go through 10 minutes and do that every single day, you're going to take your mind on a journey of ultimate positivity and reformation, which is going to give you this massive boost of courage and kindness and joy. And then you can take that and you can give that to others. But in doing that is going to create massive amounts of success for you, because other people that are successful are going to want you in their corner.
Wow. Thank you. That's huge. That's an exceptional message. If you're ready to share your story and empower other people, please reach out to me, greg@gregpihs.com. I want to help you share your story, because there's always someone, and leaning in on what Mike shared with us today, there's always someone one chapter ahead of us that's willing to give us the answer, right? So find that person. Mike talked about that. And there's always someone one chapter behind us that wishes they had our answers. It's old hat to us. As soon as we figure out, we're like, that's old. There's someone that this is like the biggest value to them. Always be looking for that guy one step ahead of you. He's going to give you the answers. And always, one of the 5 stratospheric laws of success is the law of receptivity, which is allowing the next person, and then giving. Always make sure we're looking for that person one chapter behind us. Your story has value to change someone's life one chapter behind you. If you're ready to share your story, greg@gregpihs.com. Make sure you download and listen to the whole episode. We are streaming and we are hosted on all of your favorite podcast streaming platforms. And if you want to check out the video, check us out on YouTube. It's successaftertrauma.com. Our channel is Success After Trauma on YouTube. Thank you, everyone. Be great. It's already in you.